him out. 2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is one back. Walk him off. Chris Taylor.
Let's go. Welcome in, Dodger fans. They get it done. We're going to Game 5, back to LA, 8-0. Dodgers take down the Padres. I'm Trevor Lane, filling in here at Dodger Blue, joined by Daniel Starkand. Daniel, that's what we wanted to see. A dominant performance from the Dodgers, getting the job done. Now we're back to LA on Friday.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for coming on with us tonight, Trevor. We're gonna have Scott on here in a few minutes as well. But yeah, I mean the Laker guys, brought the boys in blue some luck tonight, I guess you could say. But yeah, obviously, backs against the wall. Needed to win this game, and wasn't looking too great coming off of what happened last night and Game 2 as well. But the Dodgers responded. I mean, 8-0 or I think that was the final score. Like, you can't ask for much more than that. Like, everyone in, the bullpen did their job. Guys got big hits, and here we go back to LA for a Game 5 on Friday.
Daniel, I saw you on X. You were having a pretty good time with all the people that thought that the Dodgers had lost their minds to go to a bullpen game, but it was brilliance by the Padres not to instead throw out there a tired pitcher. What do you have to say about that now?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen how the Dodgers starters have performed in this series and in recent Octobers. So for anyone to be screaming that they're not throwing a starter out there, to me at least, just didn't really make any sense. Like, the bullpen has been the heart of this team. Like, we haven't trusted any of these starters, and credit to Dave Roberts. Like, he did a really good job of managing those guys tonight. And Cease, I mean, he got rocked in Game 1 on full rest, so I don't know why they felt confident going back to him on short rest, thinking they would get a better outcome. But to me, that was really predictable. Like you said, I was tweeting about it this morning. So it's good to see. Sometimes on paper the game doesn't always play out the way it's supposed to. But tonight was one of those nights where the Dodgers bullpen did what they've been doing basically all year long. The Dodgers offense got to cease early and then maintained it throughout. So, really great overall win. Really no complaints, honestly. Like, outside of maybe, going to Trinan where they did, which we'll probably get into later. Yeah. But other than that, I thought it was a great job by everyone.
Now, so for the most part, this was a pretty stress-free win. As stress-free as a playoff game, backs against the wall situation could be. The Dodgers got the lead. They held the lead. They blew it open. But there was a moment there, and I think you were even on X talking about it, because I was thinking the exact same thing as I'm watching it. They were within a combined maybe 2 inches from completely breaking the game open midway through the game. It was the Max Muncy home run that wasn't, and then the ball hitting the umpire. Right, and so Ohtani getting out at home plate. Those were the moments in my head, Daniel. I was thinking, oh no. The baseball gods are typically not forgiving with situations like that. That's usually the kind of stuff that happens, and then disaster follows. But the Dodgers were able to get through it and still increase their lead from there and then cruise to the win.
Yeah, honestly, like, it feels like the Dodgers have been getting, super unlucky, like, this whole series pretty much. Like, it feels like every time they've hit a ball hard, it's been right at a Padre guy. Like, and for the most part, the Dodgers defense has struggled, and the Padres, it felt like everything was kind of going their way. And that was just another example, specifically that play with the umpire. Like, I can't say that's anything we've ever seen before. And obviously at that point they had a 5-run lead. So, you did feel at least a little bit, safe. Like, if that happens in a 1-run game or a tie game, like, I think we all would have been a lot more angry than we were. But yeah, for a while it did feel like they couldn't get over that hump. And to me, it was really important. Like, I thought it would have made sense to get 2-3 innings out of Landon Knack tonight, who pitched the 9th inning. Like, it would have been nice to kind of save some of those high leverage guys, not give the Padres a free look at them, basically. Like, I think usually the more a hitter sees a pitcher, that's advantage hitter, in my opinion. So it definitely would have been nice to not have to use all those guys. But, Dave just wasn't fooling around at that point. Like, he wasn't going to take any chances that, we saw how things snowballed yesterday, like into a 6-run inning, like at the snap of a finger, it felt like. And He just didn't want that to happen tonight. But yeah, it was good. Like after all that, unlucky stuff happened. Like it did feel like the luck, started to turn. Like Gavin Lux hits a home run, was great to see. Even the Padres like made an error or two. Like that's not something we've seen this series. So it did feel like the tide, was starting to turn a little bit. And I know, momentum it isn't all that much of a thing in baseball compared to other sports, I would say, just because like the phrase is, momentum is your next day's starting pitcher. Like that's kind of, what it's on in baseball. But it does feel like, with the win tonight, the Dodgers have built up a little momentum, or at least quieted, the Padres down a little bit. Like they were red hot the first 3 games of this series. They couldn't get those guys out. And then tonight the Dodgers shut them out. So that was great.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely fantastic to see. Yeah, you mentioned last night's game. When the ball hit the umpire, I thought, oh God, no. After Manny Machado takes a stroll through the grass and the ball hits him and it just calamity ensues, I thought, oh gosh, let's not start all this stuff again. But the Dodgers, they fought it off. And yeah, I do think that there's maybe a little bit of momentum if it exists behind them, because now you get to go back to LA. Now the Dodgers have got to go back up north, got to go back to LA, and a big game 5 coming up on Friday. Let's get into some of our chat questions here. 300 GJW said, great win. Dave managed that game excellently. Daniel, what did you think about Dave Roberts? You said he wasn't messing around. Is that the right strategy? Could that come back to bite him at all in game 5?
I think it's twofold. Like I do think part of it is, the Padres bats were quiet all night. And, even if in an 8-0 game, like, you don't want to see the Padres hit a couple meaningless home runs in the 9th inning that you think are meaningless, but then maybe that, gets their bats going a little for game 5. So I did understand it from that perspective. It's like to relate it, back to NBA so you could understand better, Trevor. It's like when you have a 3-point shooter who's just ice cold, and then maybe he's in there in the 4th quarter of a blowout and he hits a couple threes, and then that carries over to the next game, and all of a sudden he's out of that slump. So I did I did understand why they weren't messing around there. But yeah, I thought overall Dave did great. Like, and also like credit to all those guys in the bullpen. Like all those guys did their job. They all came in and got outs. Like none of them, obviously you shut the team out. So none of them had a bad outing. And if you're going to have bullpen games, you're obviously trusting a lot of guys. Like, it's not like when you have a starter go 5 or 6 innings and then you have 2 or 3 relievers behind them. Like in a bullpen game, you're putting your trust that 7 or 8 guys are all going to pitch really well that night. And it doesn't always work out, but it definitely worked out tonight. And when you consider, how much their starting pitching has struggled, I thought this was the right move, and I thought they kind of executed it perfectly.
Yeah, I thought that was actually a big thing, was as the game's going on, as they're rotating through one pitcher after another, it was noticeable that it really felt like, and I could be forgetting somebody, but it felt like every pitcher finished on a positive. Like they got the out that they needed, and then the next guy came on, and just mentally, that's got every pitcher now had a positive. It wasn't like they gave up a big hit and we're in trouble now, and now we're going to make this pitching change. No, it was they did what they needed to do. Mission accomplished. You did your job. Next guy up, and let's go. And I think the mental side of that is a big thing heading into a game 5. Like, hey, every experience for these guys was a positive heading into this pivotal game.
Absolutely. And I do think also like a big part of it was those first few innings, like credit to Ryan Brazier who got the start tonight. Like we've seen pretty much in every game this series, the Padres jump up out to a 4 or 5 run lead, whatever it is. And then the Dodgers are just trying to fight and claw their way back the whole time, which to their credit, they were able to do in game 1. They almost, did last night in game 3, but that was definitely something they wanted to avoid. Like they wanted to get off to a better start. They didn't want to let that crowd, that ruckus San Diego crowd get going in a good way, as we've seen. So first of all, Mookie Betts, like to hit that home run for the 2nd straight night in the first inning was great to see. And then Ryan Brazier comes up and puts up a big 0 there. And it kind of gave the Dodgers, some, kind of got them rolling a little bit. They tack on a few more runs. And then all of a sudden, the game's basically out of reach in the middle innings there.
Jose Martinez said, where are all the non-believers at? Right? How many Dodgers fans do you think really felt like this is, after losing game 2 and then of course game 3, how many Dodgers fans do you think were thinking, that's it. This is it. Season's over. We're done.
Yeah, I would say a majority, and I think it was honestly fair, just because what we've seen in recent years, like there is, I do think there is a bit of a mental hurdle that this team needs to get over. And look, they won tonight, but they still haven't gotten over it yet. Like they need to win the series, obviously. Tonight is all for naught if they, go and lose Game 5 at home.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, it was fair to not necessarily believe. But I also think going into tonight, like I was tweeting, I thought the Dodgers had the advantage on paper. Like they were going with their bullpen arms that have been great. Dylan Cease is a guy that they saw really well. So I was personally, confident about tonight's game, just not necessarily confident about a Game 5. Although I will say, in the way that they won tonight, it has given me more confidence going into a Game 5. Like it does feel like, the Lakers have kind of, or I said the Lakers.
That's because I'm here.
I see your face, and I automatically assume Lakers.
We start going Lakers.
But it does feel like the Dodgers have gotten over some of those demons, and they know that they could beat this Padres team. So, they got one more win to go, and I do think there are more believers now than there was, 24 hours ago.
All right. Speaking of Lakers, I've got some people in the chat saying, who the F is the guy hosting? Well, let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, if you don't follow the Lakers,
I bet you're not used to people not knowing who you are.
Well, I mean, I'm in my own little Lakers bubble and NBA bubble, but I host the Lakers Nation side of things for the company, and I handle things over there. So I'm filling in here over at Dodger Blue tonight with Daniel. But yes, I typically host over on the Lakers Nation YouTube channel, the podcast, all of that kind of stuff, the NBA front office show. I'm very NBA focused, obviously, but jumping over here, man, I grew up watching the Dodgers. I'll admit it, I'm more in the casual side of Dodger fandom, but I'm definitely a Dodgers fan, and I enjoyed the hell out of tonight's game. That was a lot of fun. Daniel, let's get to this. John said, I love the Rodney Dangerfield avatar here, said pitching strategy predictions. So what do the Dodgers do now? What does Dave Roberts do for Friday's big Game 5?
It is a legit question, and I'm kind of scrolling Twitter here just to see if Dave Roberts mentions anything about it in his post game. I'm not seeing anything just yet, but it's interesting just because the Dodgers do have options now. Like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who started Game 1, he's going to be on extra rest going into that game. Jack Flaherty, who started in Game 2, is going to be on full rest. And then considering you have an off day, you should have all your relievers available as well. So it is it's not a no-brainer here. I think they probably will start Yamamoto if I had to guess, but I do think the leash will be extremely short. You can't avoid a big inning in the first 3 or 4 innings. Like they showed tonight, they're more than fine if they got to go to their bullpen early. Yeah. Those are all guys they trust back there. And if you have Flaherty available, ideally you get out of this game with only using one of those 2 starters and your bullpen. So then you have the other one if you win, for a Game 1. But obviously if it's an all hands on deck situation where you never know what's going to happen in a game, you're going to have a short leash with your starters. So Flaherty is definitely going to be available as well. But to me, I would start Yamamoto, have a really short leash, and then go to your bullpen guys after that. And then let's say it gets to the 8th or 9th inning and you've kind of run out of pitching, then is when you would go to a guy like Jack Flaherty, in my opinion.
What's the turnaround to a Game 1 as far as when we're talking about the danger of using Flaherty too much? What's the turnaround time before Game 1 if they would only survive?
So let's say they win on Friday, then Game 1 of the next series would be on Sunday. So they would get 1 day off there. But ideally you would like to have, Walker Buehler would be able to start that game on normal rest because he pitched yesterday. So you do have another option there, but ideally you would like to have one of Yamamoto or Flaherty for a Game 1, Walker Buehler for a Game 2, and then go from there. But obviously you can't worry about the next series until you get to it. You got to win that game on Friday. So I do think, if they have to go to Jack Flaherty, they definitely won't hesitate. And, but yeah, I do think, they trust their relievers first and foremost, and as they should, with what we saw tonight and all series, really.
Robert says, That question asking who is this hosting was like when Jeff first hosted an LN stream. That's right. You know what though, Daniel? This is not the first time I've filled in over here. It's not often, but I did a show. Was with sometime in the last few months with Matt Moreno over here. So I have filled in here before, but yeah, this is fun, man. Getting to come over here, talk a little bit of a different sport for a bit. All right, let's get into this. Darvish at Dodger Stadium in an elimination game. So, not gonna lie, it's scary. I seem to recall Darvish not pitching so well for the Dodgers in the postseason. That just tells me that karma is coming around here, and now he's going to pitch poorly against the Dodgers. It's only fair. It's only fair, Daniel.
Hey, from your mouth to the baseball god's ears, because that sounds good to me. I will say, like, Yu Darvish is a great pitcher. Like, we saw that the other night in game 2. It feels like he's pitched really well against the Dodgers since he left the team. So they are going to be in, for a fight there. If Yamamoto does start, I'm just kind of putting 2 and 2 together here. That would be really cool. Like 2 Japanese guys on the mound in a winner-take-all game. Ohtani in the lineup. Like that the whole country is going to be watching that game. But yeah, I mean, like you said, if Darvish kind of owes us one, so if he wants to go out there and not have his best outing, that's fine with me.
Now's the time for it. Now's the time. Grayson said, can someone tell me the stats on Darvish when he pitches on 4 days rest? He will be for game 5. Yamamoto, on the other hand, is on 5 days rest. Well, I don't have that in front of me, but how big of an advantage could that be for the Dodgers? Yamamoto on 5, Darvish on 4.
I mean, Yamamoto's been throwing with that much rest all season, and that's what he was used to in his career in Japan as well. So that is good for him. Like I don't know, Darvish. I'm trying to find it here. Here we go. He only started 4 games. Oh wow. I mean, it's a small sample, but he started 4 games on 4 days rest this year and had a 6.43 ERA, which is really bad. Yeah. He started 7 games on 5 days rest and had a 2.6 ERA in those games.
That's
so pretty good,
difference.
Really good. And then 6+ days rest. In 5 starts, he had a 1.5 ERA. So this season, he showed that the more rest he has, the better. So that is, something working in the Dodgers' favor. I'm scrolling now to see for his whole career to see if that trend is legit or if it's just kind of a this year thing. Let's see here. It does kind of fall in line with his whole career. It's not as drastic, obviously, but his worst ERA is on 4 days rest, and then it gets better, as he has more rest. So
good news.
That tells me, advantage Dodgers there for sure.
That's fantastic. Now, how about? I mean, obviously a big loss. Freddie Freeman. Where is he at for Friday?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's been kind of like a day-to-day thing with him, like, if he can manage it. I will say the fact that he was able to get tonight off and he'll get tomorrow off as well, that's obviously a good thing. But he said at the beginning of the postseason, like, if this was the regular season, he probably would have missed like 4 to 6 weeks, which to me sounds like a high ankle sprain, which we've seen with like LeBron or AD, and they miss a few weeks. So even the fact that he's been toughing it out, like, major credit to him. And knowing how tough he is and how competitive he is, he's going to want to be in there, for game 5. So he's going to do everything in his power to make that happen. And we'll see. But honestly, like they showed tonight, like one guy doesn't make a lineup. So,
sure.
A guy like Kike was in the lineup tonight, had a good night, had a couple hits, which was great to see. Gavin Lux got going. I know Chris Taylor, who I'm seeing now, Chris Taylor 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. So that wasn't great. But other than that, there was contributions up and down the lineup. So hopefully Freddie's back in there. But if he's not, I trust that other guys will step it up.
So this is, there is a great history in Dodger Stadium with guys coming in that are limping badly and getting big hits for the Dodgers. So I'm not saying that we're going to see Freddie Freeman turn into Kirk Gibson, but you know what? Like the way I saw Freddie running last night, I thought, that looks a little familiar. If he could go in a game 5, that would be pretty cool to see him be able to tough it out. And it wouldn't shock me if he winds up doing it.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't put it past him. And honestly, like he's gotten a few hits in this series. Like and like you said, he stole a base the other night. So if he's in there, he's going to be full on, balls to the wall. Just like our guy Scotty, who I'm sure is excited to be in here with us after that big win. How we doing, Scott?
Doing great, Trev. Thanks for hosting it, man. Appreciate you guys. Yeah.
Hey, no problem. Scott, thanks for coming in.
No
How
doubt.
are you feeling after this? A big win for the Dodgers. Were you nervous during this, or were you feeling good the whole way throughout?
Going into it, and people were asking about why wasn't Landon Knack getting the start for this game, and then looking at the bullpen game and having the conversation with chat. We've been in the trenches on lives this week for sure. We've been keeping everybody in here chat. It's great to see you guys. We appreciate you joining. But I was feeling great with the bullpen game because just look at their performance tonight. It's been consistent with the bullpen, how Dave Roberts has managed it going against San Diego and at the back end of the regular season, how he's done it. And, in game one, when he brings his bullpen in, there's a sense of, comfort that he's been pushing the right buttons with them. They've been up for the job, I would say, for the better part of the regular season. Like they've been dealing with, yes, they are older. But they've answered the bell every single time. They've got a philosophy down there. Big credit to the bullpen coach. I felt great going into today. I didn't feel nervous that they didn't have a long man, someone out there that's going to give the bulk of the innings because day off tomorrow, all hands on deck, back up against the wall. I loved the idea of going with the bullpen game. In hindsight, look at it, man. Trev, look at it, dude. They shut it down. They took care of business all game long.
Yeah, it definitely worked out to their advantage. And I know Daniel was battling people on social media before the game about it and people who were criticizing the Dodgers. And now, as of this moment, we'll see how game 5 goes. But as of this moment, the Dodgers have the last laugh on that because it paid off for LA to go with that bullpen.
And just to jump in here, I do have, comments from Dave Roberts postgame. He didn't give much, but he said they have some options for game 5, including another bullpen game, Yamamoto or Flaherty. He was asked, if a bullpen game may be preferable, considering how the Padres have done against their starters. And Dave said it's a good thought, but then he noted it'll depend on how everyone feels tomorrow during the workout. Yep. So like I was just saying a couple minutes ago, and like Scott was just saying, like, considering how the bullpen, how they've looked today and all series, really, I do think you feel comfortable if you want to go with a bullpen game, or either way, like if you go with Yamamoto or Flaherty starting, like you at least can afford to have a very short leash, knowing that you should have a lot of your bullpen guys, if not all of them, ready to go.
Scott, do you have a preference, Yamamoto or Flaherty?
That's a good question. That's honestly, I would ask going into it because I know of the schedules with everything Yamamoto and, how he looked in his first playoff appearance. I would have a conversation with both of them on Friday morning and say, who feels better? Like who feels better and have that, because if they're both going in, I'm sure Dave, had to check in, say both are available. Both you guys have both opportunity to pitch in this game, do or die. Everybody, it's all hands on deck for sure. In a division series, it's not always ideal, but you've got to look to play for the day. So I would say, honestly, I see people in chat already on it. It's a short leash with whoever feels the best in scouting wise and who you look at matchup wise, and you look at the at-bats they're going to have. And it could be a scenario where we do get an opener, where you do go that route. How much would they consider it? I'm not sure. But whoever they go with, it's going to be a short leash. It absolutely will be for sure. Like how short? I'm saying the second they go in, you've got somebody going, like tossing a ball around that's able to get hot right away.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be important that they're able to come in and get going from the jump. Now, this is here. Ivan says, Mookie, insert Shaq meme. I owe you an apology, Betts. The mental side of it. Mookie coming right in and getting you points immediately. Getting runs on the board for you. That's huge for Mookie. We talk about Mookie Magic. This guy's been so massive, and he's going to need to do it again. He's going to need to be big again, game 5.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think, last night hitting that home run in the first inning, it felt like a big weight was lifted off his shoulders. It was well documented how much he struggled in the postseason the last few years. There was a lot of heat on the guy. And like this commenter said, I don't know if we need to apologize just because, like, if a guy's doing bad, he's criticizing him is the right thing to do. But when he starts doing good, I do think, praise is due as well. And Mookie, it feels like mentally he's in a good place now, and he's kind of settled into the series. And, that was a big hit tonight, to put them, up 1-0, knowing that you're going to have a bullpen game. Obviously your backs are against the wall. To put that run up, I thought was huge. And he didn't, there was not really a doubt this time. Like, even though he hit the home run last night, like, obviously he thought it got robbed, so he wasn't sure. So it still felt like he was, not back to Mookie Betts quite yet. But after that one tonight, I do think Mookie's back. He stepped up right after in the third inning, slaps a single the other way to drive in another run. Like, that's just great baseball right there.
Absolutely. Mookie has been absolutely massive for the Dodgers here. Now you can see he said he's not worried about doing too much work. He's taking it 1 inning at a time, and they know that nothing is going to be easy. Of course, that mental side of things, understanding that it's going to be now a battle going into Game 5 on Friday. They got to expect a fight there. What are you guys anticipating? Scott, we'll go to you first. What are you anticipating for Game 5? Like, how do you think this is all going to play out?
It's going to be with you, Darvish, in an elimination game in Dodger Stadium. We've seen that before. Those tough memories there. Different time, different life. We just poof, it's gone. Let's get the Men in Black thing up there. But it's going to be a tough matchup because he throws the kitchen sink. He throws 7 different pitches. It's a tough thing. But, like Daniel said, he talks about, momentum and how much does that matter? A game like tonight, you saw how it affected the Padres rolling into Game 2, taking care of business there, rolling that into the, Game 3, jumping off to a hot start there. Dodgers battle back, and guess what? They go quiet right away. So I think there's a certain recipe to that if you're able to weather that, it's just about weathering that early storm. If it's there, you go back and you have to be able to get ahead of it. One, you take a lead early on, but I'm going to need to see them do the same thing that they've been doing these last 2 games here. You're able to get some early runs. I know it didn't work out, yesterday. But a game like tonight, Mookie Betts goes up there, first inning run. They get out there, second runs in the second inning, third inning. Like, I know that's a tidal wave type of thing, but it's about the zeros. It's about being able to match your opponent. So with you, Darvish, it's a tough matchup just because of how tough he looked. And I know, Daniel, I want you to talk about this with you, Darvish, what we saw the other day about how tough of a matchup he was. And, some of that, I'm not going to, luck is a thing that, we can talk about those outcome-based things. But as far as how many balls were in play, I think that's something that the more I dug into it, he had more balls in play than Jack Flaherty. It's just a matter of the damage that happened. So I think with the recipe for what they have to do, you have to keep those strikeouts down. You have to be taking these great at-bats tonight. And with Mookie Betts, chat, we got to see both patient and aggressive Mookie Betts. He had that hit, the homer on a 3-2 count. He had the smoked single on a first pitch from Brian Hoeing, who's been absolutely electric for the Padres. So it's talking about seeing these hitters doing the best of what they can do in both their aggressiveness and being patient and selective in hanging it. If they hang it, you're going to bang it. And I think that's what we need to see top to bottom. But as always, it's going to start with your stars. So I'm expecting them to battle. Just got to keep balls in play. Ruby, I love you, buddy. But I'm going to need to see them to battle and just not strike out, put the ball in play.
And just because you mentioned that Darvish stuff, Scott, I did want to add to that a little, because you're right. Like, even though, Darvish did have a really good outing, I will say that. Obviously he pitched 7 innings, but the Dodgers did hit a lot of balls hard off him. He only struck out 3, so it wasn't like a vintage Darvish, dominant type outing where you just have no chance. I do think the Dodgers were seeing the ball well against him, and I think the key with him is you got to keep him in the zone. Like, you can't be chasing against him. Like, he obviously has 6 or 7 pitches or whatever, and he's going to use them all. He's going to change speed. He's going to change, eye level. He's going to do all that, and you got to make sure that he stays in the zone. And if they could do that, I do think they have a really good shot. Like, obviously, use a great pitcher, but we've seen he can be erratic at times. And like you mentioned, in the biggest of games, winner take all games, he does have his own kind of demons to face with that, similar to we were talking about Mookie and his struggles. Like, there is a mental aspect of that. And if you're able to kind of jump on him early or make him work in those first couple innings, I do think that could kind of come into play where he starts, doubting himself and his stuff and whatnot, and you could kind of jump on him. So that is going to be a key, first of all, limiting the Padres in that first inning. Like, let's get back into the dugout with a 0 on the board, and then let's see if we could jump on you early.
Maybe trigger some old memories for him and remind him, like, hey, remember? Comment here says Mystico, I like the name, said people calling for Dave R's head, but he's managed the BP great. The offense not responding sometimes. Great game. See you in LA. I believe. Are Dodgers fans back now? They, like, all the people who are down and out and everything. Is everybody back on board now? Now we all believe again?
Hey, it definitely feels like it. I mean, an 8-0 win is only going to do, good things. It's kind of a all-around win for the Dodgers, offensively, defensively, on the mound. So, this is the team that won the most, games in baseball. Like, we've been kind of waiting for them to show up in October for a few years now, but it does feel like, they've kind of gotten their mojo back a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's one game. Anything could happen in a one-game scenario, but I definitely think, Dodger fans as a whole are going to go into game 5, feeling more confident than we did tonight, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that from what we saw yesterday, right? Like, after the Teoscar Grand Slam, you saw 16 batters go out in a row until the Freddie single up the middle. And then you get a game like tonight where they're doing a multitude of things to get on base. I love the fact that Tommy Edman, in the top of the 7th inning, lays down that bunt. He's switched over to the left side where, yes, he has struggled. Chat, I know you've hammered on that. I've said Tommy Edman's a guy, and then you just keep me honest with saying yes, but against lefties, that's the thing. And I shied away from it. But when he's on that side in a matchup, it's great that, with an opportunity to scratch runs across, and you never know at these games. It's never over with. So for him to do that and to, lay that bunt down, have a close play, get a run in, extend it. These guys are dynamic. It's a way that, when it's on, it's on. Will Smith, that was the guy that I pegged to be the difference maker for it. And he comes up, has a game tonight. It's got it in him. Max Muncy, was great to see him get it going. Could have been a better game for him, if not for Jackson Merrill, who's just been crazy. Yeah. So you get to see when they're all there, when they're all locked in. And I was really happy in a backup against the wall type of scenario. The Dodgers stepped up, and that says a lot about them. And they did something. They won a road game for the first time since, I think, 2021 is what I saw. So that's big time. 2021. Yeah. 2021. So it just says a lot. 2021 or 2022, but it's a big thing. Trev, I want to know your thoughts on, what do you think looking into Friday? Like, what's the confidence level for you, knowing that the Padres just saw Dylan Cease on short rest? They went for that. They didn't want to send this back to LA. I see Padre fans on Twitter talking about how the only people who wanted a game 5 was Dodger fans like Jeff Passan, ESPN. Like, they don't want this to go 5 because they know it's a talented Dodgers team. And when you've seen Dodger hitters have seen these bullpen guys enough, that's when it gets scary.
Here's the issue for me is that, there's this pain that's built up from what's happened with the Dodgers over the last few years. And so you're always going to be wary of that, of feeling that pain again. But I'll tell you this, I'm ready to get hurt again. I'm ready. I'm there. I'm ready. I will wholeheartedly commit and say, I believe they're going to get it done. I believe they're going to win, because that's what you're doing, really. When you're saying it's over, it's done, that's it, you're trying to block the pain. You're trying to just accept it and as a way to preemptively push yourself away so it doesn't hurt so bad. That's what people who say that kind of stuff are really trying to do. I'm going to go all in and believe that they are going to win on Friday, game 5. We're going to dispel this Dodger postseason narrative, and it's going to happen. They're going to get it done at home. And even if that means that opens me up to that pain again, that's okay. I'll take that, because I really believe that they're going to get this thing done. They're going to win it. And we'll be moving on. I think that's what needs to happen here on Friday, game 5. I love the mentality of the team. The bats were alive, and I think they're going to stay alive on Friday.
I feel like you can't really go in with any other mentality like at this point. Like, I know we, like you said, like we all are a little scarred here. Like we're used to some of these disappointing losses, but We'll have plenty of time, to be upset and angry when that happens. But now I think we need everyone on the same train. We need everyone pushing forward. We all got to believe. It's just one game here, and I do want to give this Dodger team credit. Like, we've seen them respond to, when they've struggled this season time and time again. It feels like, and even just looking back to a few weeks ago when they played the Padres in what was a really big regular season series, they lose game one on a triple play in that series, and everyone's like, oh, like, this is over. Like, there's no way you could come back from that. And they responded and won 2 straight there to take that series. And now they're in a position where, they had two rough losses in a row, and they responded tonight. And now they just need to respond, with one more game to advance.
Yeah. Look at what the Lakers did in 2010, right?
Yeah.
Got to win two. Grayson said Padres won game 2 by 8 runs and had the day off and won game 3. Dodgers win game 4 by 8 runs and have the day off and win game 5. It's the perfect script. There we go. If the script has been leaked, we now know that tells us what's going to happen right there.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Script writers are out.
That's right. Oh, no. Tyler says, Trevor, you got to take the black funeral hat off, my man. The Dodgers bats are alive and well. Is it a funeral hat? Is that right? See, I'll be honest. I was recording for Lakers Nation right before this, and I had a Lakers hat, and I went, no, I got to throw on a Dodgers hat, so I'm all set and ready for when this show starts. And I just grabbed, this is my favorite Dodgers hat that I've got, so I just grabbed this one. I never thought of it as a funeral hat or anything like that. Is it better if I go like Sylvester Stallone and over the top and I turn it backwards? Like, now I'm ready for some arm wrestling? Does that fix it? I don't know.
I don't know about the hat backwards personally, but I don't mind the black hat. Like, I don't get funeral vibes. It's a Dodger hat. If anything, it's the Padres funeral.
That's right. I like it. I like that mentality. All right. Oh, Gabriel says, tomorrow's my birthday. Can the Dodgers win for me Friday? I hope so. And happy birthday. Happy birthday. Hopefully they get the win for you. Let's see. Laura Lara. That sounds like a Superman character.
Laura, that's one of our regulars in here. Shout out, Laura.
She is.
I love it. That's fantastic. That's you've got the alliterative naming there, like comic character. Would Flaherty fire up the Padres? They're fueled by drama. What are we thinking there, guys?
It's it's possible, but I would say it's game to game stuff. Like you got to see it. Like I'm going to keep bringing it up. Like Derek Jeter had a great line. He was talking about how he brought perspective that these guys understand what happened in the past, but they're not going in. His postseason view is that they're looking at it game to game, and you look at it like it's not over until it's over. We've seen the Dodgers come back from 3-1 against the Braves in 2020, like 2-1. It's not that same thing, but Mookie Betts marred in that season long slump, 3-year postseason slump going in, and he's turning the page every day. About Jack Flaherty, I would say Jack Flaherty gave the Dodgers enough. Like, he gave them 5 innings, 3 earned runs. As far as then he goes 6 and then gives up the 4th. But as far as the chirping stuff with Manny Machado, that stuff, you can leave that in San Diego. Like, you can leave that stuff, once that went back there, you can leave all that stuff there. That drama happened. It's over with. You went to San Diego. They just got beat down, and let's just figure it out. Let's go to game 5. And that's when all this stuff is just on winning. A lot of these guys, like, if you get out of yourself, out of your game there, and it's still a 0-0 ball game, that's not stuff you can be doing. So if Jack Flaherty's on the mound and the Padres get 2 up, Dodgers could take advantage of it from that sense. Like, I would say it's less about all the stuff that's happened before in this series and more so about, damn, now they're both up against the wall. Who's going to come to play,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, I think at this point, like, you don't really look at all those outside factors. Like, you just focus on this one game, and whoever you think gives you the best chance to win that game, that's what you go with, whether it's one of these, 2 starters, or even if it's a bullpen game. Like, if they came out and said they wanted to do a bullpen game, I'm not going to be mad about it. They've shown that's been their best chance to win. So whatever they decide, I think they're going to make that decision based on, how they feel, gives them the best chance to win, I'd say.
All right, let's go here. Ozzy said, I think we shouldn't start Yamamoto. I mean, I don't like, that's the way I would lean, particularly because he's got the extra day of rest. And if you're going to have the short leash anyway, I know maybe you worry about getting off to a rough start, but this is also the guy that you forked over a ton of money to get.
Yep.
I mean, I know that stuff shouldn't matter this time. It should just be who's going to help you win. But this is the guy that you went all in on, right? This is the guy that you paid a fortune to get. Now's the time for that to pay off. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, the only like what I would be looking into is I know there are questions about if Yamamoto was tipping pitches, in his start against to lead off this series. And that's something that I know the Dodgers have been working diligently on to really look at, diagnose. And if it's been a thing, then yes. I mean, we're talking about the same thing with like Darvish when he was with the Dodgers in 2017. I know that's the sign stealing stuff with the Astros, but was he tipping pitches in that 7th game? Stuff like that. So there are questions that, yes, he's struggled. Yamamoto has struggled in the first inning. So is Dylan Cease. It's been those type of things for the you saw it today. Like early runs can kill a pitcher. And it's really hindered Yamamoto. And you look at his ERA after the first inning, it's like a complete drop off, to where it gets to a point where you're saying, yes, this is a front end guy. But how can you diagnose that? The Dodgers have to understand, like, you've got to go into it saying, did we fix this issue? And it's unfortunate that you won't know until either the damage has been done or until he's, through 2-3 innings, and then it's a good outcome here. But that's something that the Dodgers will have to be sure about. And if they figured it out, then it'll be a full green light for Yamamoto and you won't get any issues from me. I know, Daniel, you feel the same exact way from there. But other than that, like, I feel pretty confidently about if it's Yamamoto, I would go with Yamamoto. As far as Flaherty, I want to know, Daniel, I want to get your thoughts on if it's Flaherty instead. Like, who would you go with?
Yeah, we talked about this a little, at the beginning of the show, and basically, I think what I would do is I would start Yamamoto. I think he gives you the most upside. Like, yes, he had a rough game 1. Yes, he had a rough start against the Padres in South Korea a million months ago, however long ago that was. But I do think when he's on, he's your best option, and so I would start with him. I would have a very short leash. Like you said, I would have guys up and throwing from pitch 1, just because you cannot afford a crooked number. Like, you can't afford a 4, 5, 6 run inning. You don't want to put yourself in that type of hole. So you have to have a short leash. And my thing with Flaherty, we talked about this a little bit before, is, in a perfect world, you get through this game with Yamamoto in your bullpen, and then you have Jack Flaherty for game 1.
Yeah.
Like, I know this game is the most important thing. Like, I want to make myself clear on that. Like, obviously, if you don't win this game, you don't advance. But I do think, like, we're not talking about game 7 of the World Series here. Like, there are still games to be played. So I do think in a perfect world, you get through this game with Yamamoto and your regular bullpen guys, and then you have Jack ready for game 1, Walker Buehler ready for game 2 of the next series. So with that in mind, I think the way I would do it is you start Yamamoto, you give him a really short leash, and then you go with your bullpen guys after that. And if it gets to the 8th or 9th inning and you need Jack Flaherty at that point, then you go to him, just because it's a do or die situation, like similar to what they did with Max Scherzer in 2021. Like, he came out and closed the game. Like, they didn't go to him early in that game. They went to their bullpen guys. And then, when they needed someone for the 9th inning, they went to Max Scherzer in that, situation. And that's what I would do with Jack Flaherty in this, this one.
Yeah. And we're talking about a bullpen. Yes. Like, I had no issues. Like, if people had a question about the bullpen usage today and then saying, oh, why did they use all the big guys? Because you still have a game 5, they got a day off. This is the postseason. Like,
yeah,
they're ready for this. Like, the usage, sure, matters. You keep it in your mind, but these guys are ready to go. They're professionals. Like, you throw that out the window, essentially, to a point. Like, I'm not going to say you just go crazy, but you're seeing what, arms like what Edwin Diaz is doing with, with the Mets. He's throwing, I forgot the number of pitches he threw in a week, but he understands that he's one of the most key arms for that bullpen. And he's laying it all on the line here. Anthony Bonda has been great. Evan Phillips came in today. He only threw 10 pitches. Daniel Hudson, 9 pitches. Blake Trinan, 19 pitches. Then you have a day off tomorrow. Like, they have time. Like, if there's a point in the game where say Yamamoto goes, 2 innings and he allows 1 run. If you decide to pull him there and say, that's it, like, we want the matchups we're going to go with, you can go straight to your bullpen. And guess what? I'm feeling damn confident at the matchups that Dave Roberts can put out there against this Padres lineup, who we've seen go, hitless for a bit. You've seen them go innings without damage here. So however they dice it up, just like we talked about, I expect somebody ready to go, and I know they'll have that roadmap to 27 outs. But everything changes early when you get that early run production. So if you can match it right away and then turn it over to that plan, keep it there, that's I expect it to be that way.
Yeah, and I'm just to add on to what you said, like I'm looking at, the usage today, like Ryan Brazier, 19 pitches, Bonda, 19 pitches, Kopech, 20 pitches. Vesia is the only one, 30 pitches, which is a lot for him. But, Evan Phillips, 10 pitches, Hudson, 9 pitches, Trinan, 19 pitches. So when you factor in the off day tomorrow, all those guys should be able to give you the same thing on Friday. So, if like I've been saying, you have a quick leash just because, if we got to get 9 innings out of our bullpen, we've shown that we could do that. I do think Yamamoto has the upside where he could give you 4 or 5 shutout innings if he's on, if his command is working, like he's that type of pitcher. And obviously if you get that, like you're, jumping through hoops, like that's incredible. And then that sets up your bullpen really great for the later innings, but you just got to be prepared to adapt to whatever takes place. Like you have to have a quick hook if that's necessary. And if a guy like Yamamoto is looking great, then you could afford to let it ride a little bit. Like you said, if you score some early runs, that would be a huge help, and whatever you're trying to do with the bullpen there. Like it's always good when you have a lead as opposed to, chasing. So I do think like the first, as we've seen this whole series, like the first few innings are where these games have been decided. Like, I don't know, outside of game 2, I feel like the Padres haven't scored after like the 3rd inning in this series. And I know the Dodgers had a great night tonight where they kind of maintained their offense throughout and tacked on runs. But like Scott mentioned last night, like they went 0 for 15, after, the Teoscar grand slam. So, I do think a lot of these games are won in the first 4 or 5 innings, just because both of these bullpens are really good. And once you get into those high leverage guys, it's hard to mount any sort of rally against those guys. Like you're hoping for, a bloop and a blast. Like, that's your best chance at scoring, and that doesn't come very often. So I do think it's going to be key to get out to that early lead.
All right, let's jump here. Carolina said, is it me or did we see good at-bat adjustments tonight? Muncy, Smitty, Mookie. What did you guys think about that?
Take this one. I gotta do some research here real quick, but I gotta stuff immediately once you go to me.
Yeah, I mean, I do think obviously it's great to see those guys get going. Like those are middle of the order type guys that you anticipate, getting big hits for you. And even some like Muncy, like Scott mentioned, Jackson Merrill, robs a home run or extra bases, whatever you call it. But I do think, first of all, they stayed in the zone tonight. Like they weren't chasing, specifically talking about Max. He's been chasing a lot this series. And, we know that's not his game when he's at his best. And I do think Joe Davis kind of mentioned it at one point on the broadcast, how, Dave Roberts kind of pulled, Max Muncy aside and basically said, like, you need to get back to being you. Like, you can't be expanding the zone. So we know that's when Max is at his best. So that's great to see. Obviously, when Freddie Freeman's out of the lineup, like these are the guys that you expect to step up. And Mookie started it off tonight, and it just felt like, with all these guys, like once you get one hit, you're able to settle in, you're able to relax. So that was great to see.
Yeah. And like the stuff with Will Smith, and my point with him was that I love, like against Michael King, and an emphasis that I wanted him to go off of was that King loves to bury that, hard sinker in on the hands. And that, tonight, what he does there is he gets a hard sinker in on the hand, I would say, up in. He's able to blast that center field, puts it over in the seats, and it's just stuff that we've known that these guys can do. It's a lot of it, Carolina, thanks for the super chat. It's a lot of just getting back to just what Dave Roberts said. I need you to be doing what you did during the regular season. We expect you to be that guy that you were in the regular season, in the postseason. Mm-hmm. The fact that it takes games to get this going is the frustrating part, because your season can be over just like that and you never have an opportunity to get it going. It's great that Mookie Betts was able to find that out, and we're seeing it right now. Hopefully it continues into game 5. I expect it to be there because of this 2-game sample. Same thing with Max Muncy, because you saw him look uncharacteristic yesterday. Yes, he has one club in that bag. A lot of the time he's looking to do damage, and that's just how it is. He's that three true outcome guy, and he lives and dies by it. If his stuff lands for a single, sure, but it's going to be hit hard. The issue with him is he was getting stuff down in the zone. It's like he wasn't recognizing it down in the zone. And he gets, sinkers today down in the zone. What does he do? Bang him. And then he gets that slider outer half that, Merrill makes a great play on. It's just about when it's there in a hittable spot, do not miss it. A lot of the same problem we saw with Mookie Betts. If it's in a hittable spot, do not let it go by. Don't miss that thing. I don't know what hot zone you're looking at, but when it's in a spot, if you can fire that swing, get that going, you got to bang it. And we know that's in that club is in that bag with Max Muncy. He's just got to, just like it is, get back to what you've been doing. So all around Carolina, terrific tonight from all three of them. They're key pieces. That's that heart of the lineup.
Let me ask you guys this. Is it fair to think, given that it's been a few games since we've seen Shohei hit one out and how close he got tonight, that he's due?
I mean, that guy doesn't usually go too long without leaving the yard.
Exactly.
Yeah, and obviously, he kind of lives for these moments. We've seen him, showing a lot of emotion, and especially when he hit that home run in game one. So I know he'll be juiced up, with that Dodger Stadium crowd. Biggest game of his life, So I'm excited to watch him, but it definitely does feel like he's due at this point.
He's just he can influence a game in so many ways. And that's just how it is. Like not going to say he's been quiet, but he's been the game plan against him. It was very clear. It was attack him away, make him have to extend. Don't let him get on that inner half, fire that swing early and able to do damage that way. You're going to make him go outside of his zone there. And that's why you saw the at bat against Tanner Scott. They didn't try to pound him inside. They went slider and just fooled him away. So for him to get on base tonight 3 times, do damage that way, he could do so much. So yes, I'm going to say he's due. If he hits one deep, he's due. But I just want to see him get on base, wreak havoc that way.
I will say, Darvish did have a really good plan, in that game too against Shohei. So, but Shohei, saw him, so that typically works, out better for the hitter the second time around. And but it'll be cool to see. Like I mentioned this earlier in the show. Like if you got Darvish on the mound, Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound, Shohei Ohtani in the lineup, like all of Japan is going to be watching that game, and Shohei's going to want to do something big for them.
Did he run through that stop sign?
That was tough, just because Dino threw it up real late, just because you're not expecting that to happen. Like I don't know how many baseball games I've watched. I don't know if I've ever seen a ball hit off an umpire like signaling fair. Like that's
crazy.
the first. So I do think by the time that Dino had thrown up the stop sign, Shohei it was too late to put on the brakes by then. So I think that was more just of like one of those unfortunate plays that's kind of unavoidable that you hope never happens again, because that was annoying.
Yeah, it was. All right. Great win for the boys, but please no CT3. Is this just dependent upon Freddie Freeman and if he's a go?
I think so. Yeah.
Is that all it comes down to?
Like if Rojas is out of the lineup again, I think even if Rojas is available, like I think Kike is the guy to go with there. Like he's gotten it done in the postseason time and time again. And tonight, let's see, 2 for 4 with a run tonight. Like that's, that guy just comes through in October. So Kike is in the lineup instead of Miguel Rojas. And then if Freddie's out of there, the only other option, it's either Chris Taylor or Andy Pages. So I know Chris Taylor went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts tonight. So, there's not a lot of confidence there, but to me, in a winner take all game, I would still go with the experience over the rookie. Pages played the other night, wasn't exactly inspiring. He had one good at bat where he fouled off a few pitches before striking out. But I don't know, like we had the intro to our show here, and that ends with Chris Taylor hitting a home run in a winner take all game, a walk-off home run against the Cardinals in that wild card game. So I know it was bad tonight with Chris Taylor, but if Freddie isn't able to go, I do think I would still stick with Chris Taylor.
How important is it in a game 5 like this to lean on experience versus, even though Chris Taylor wasn't great, to lean on that experience versus going with a rookie?
I would say a good bit. I mean, I understand the thing about, with Chris Taylor, and I know he had a terrible game tonight. It's a very tough line. That's a very tough line to digest there. And I'm usually err on the side of that. you put your best guys in there in October. And I don't, if they start Chris Taylor and they go that way, I'm not going to harp on it as being, a reason they lose a ball game. If he comes up in a big spot, then we have to have a different conversation. But I'm more thinking of, I would want to see Andy Pages in there. I really would. As far as defensive alignment, the way that goes, that might be a conversation they have. But if they feel comfortable enough to put him in center field, then sure. Then I go with Andy Pages. I think he's the more dynamic bat at the moment. It's just a matter of, if you don't start Chris Taylor, what spot is he going to be in there? It's a matter of who you feel better in a righty-righty matchup. And I would say with the stuff that Chris Taylor is doing right now, and as much whiff as he has in his game, and how much Darvish can spin a baseball, I would prefer to go with Andy Pages, just because we've seen him have a little bit better at bats. We've seen him, prolong these at bats, foul stuff off, look for his pitch. I would just lean more towards, Andy Pages right now. I think Chris Taylor's just, I don't know, man. I just wouldn't like to see him against. I wouldn't like to see him against Darvish. It's just, he's got too many tools in that toolbox for Chris Taylor to really key in on something, because I think his swing right now is triggered on sitting on something, guessing correctly. And against Darvish, you need to be very reactionary to how many pitches he can throw.
I think the key is just for Freddie to be in the lineup, and then you don't have to choose.
And then don't worry about it.
Either of those options are great. So let's just hope Freddie can play.
Yeah.
I've got some people in the chat that are saying Chris Taylor is due. There's a point though where you stop being due, and it's just, that's just what you are now, right? I mean, there's a limit to that, but you're right, Daniel. Ultimately, just Freddie, just Kirk Gibson this thing, and get through it here. Joe says the most important aspect of Game 5 is getting out of the top of the first without giving up any runs. Who gives us the best chance of doing that? Of just getting through the first inning, no runs. Getting through the top of that Padres order. Who are you most confident in doing that, accomplishing that goal?
The bullpen.
Yeah,
the bullpen. It's none of the starters.
The bullpen.
Well, could you Could you bring Yamamoto in the third inning or something?
Well, to me, that's the issue. Like, I don't think that's something he's ever really done before. So, you could probably do that with Jack Flaherty, and then you could hold off on Yamamoto for Game 1 of the next series. So I think to me, you either start Yamamoto or you go with a bullpen game where Yamamoto doesn't pitch at all. Like, to me, you're not going to put a guy in a role he's unfamiliar with in a winner-take-all game. So you're either handing Yamamoto that ball to start, or he's not pitching at all.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Like, I've wondered that as well. Like, we've had that conversation. Like, if you're not starting, I'm like, how comfortable are they coming out of the bullpen? If you're not taking that, that first go through, I still would err on that side. Like, I really would. I would say a bullpen game. I thought that was a great thing if they were going to Knack. I thought it was a great thing with Buehler on there. Like, I thought that would be a thing. He proved us wrong. Like, the defense let him down. Aside from that, guys, don't chat. I don't want to see you bringing it up. Buehler pitched fine. But I thought that was a good thing. Get through that first part of the lineup. Shorten the amount of times the top of the lineup is seeing, that pitcher. If they're going to give you a bulk guy, but just to what Daniel said, if you're not going to go with him for a bit, then he might not pitch. But I would still say, if Yamamoto's comfortable, they're talking about all this. They're not naive to it. We're not the only ones having it. They're going to say, do you feel comfortable coming into a game, after the first, second inning? Where do you feel comfortable pitching? Do you feel comfortable only starting it, coming in at the back end? These are all conversations. So if Yamamoto says he's comfortable coming in, say in the second inning, third inning, if an opener sounds good, they're going to do it. They will entertain that. And I think, yes, Joe Torre, like, thanks for the super chat. I think that it's the best way going with the bullpen. It's gotten the job done here. I think that Luigi brings it up right here. He struggles early on. Yes, if you can get him through that, if it's a psyche thing, if it's just trying to get in a rhythm with your pitches, your best stuff. Daniel, preach on this. Like, how important it is to highlight what you're feeling best with coming out of the bullpen to start a game. Like, how important is that for a pitcher? And if that's what Yamamoto should be doing right away.
I think it depends on, guy to guy. Like, for me personally, when I was pitching, I was a straight from the bullpen to the mound guy, because I did have some first inning struggles where you warm up, you go sit down, you cool off or whatever. And then sometimes you're just not ready to go from the jump. And we've seen that with Yamamoto. He's struggled in the first inning all year. We've seen that with a lot of guys. Like Julio Urias comes to mind. Like he always seemed to struggle in the first inning and then he would kind of settle in there. So I do think that is a mental block for a lot of starters. And that like you said, they're gonna have these conversations behind closed doors, figure out what the best plan is. Like if Yamamoto is comfortable coming out of the bullpen, then I do think it would make sense to go with an opener just to get through that first inning or two. But if at the end of the day, if he's not comfortable doing it, then that's just not an option. Like if he hasn't really done that in his career, he's got a really strict routine. Like that's not something that you could really adhere to when you're coming out of the bullpen. So I do agree. They'll have those conversations, figure out what the best course is. And if they land on a bullpen game, like that's totally fine with me, honestly. Like we saw tonight, that was the most confident I felt in the Dodgers pitching staff all series, really. Like, so if that's what they decide is gives them the best chance to win, then I would agree with that. So whatever they come, up with, I just think they have to be, ready to adapt. Like if things aren't working well, like you got to have another guy warm. Like you can't be caught with your hands in your pockets. Back another Lakers reference, to Darvin Ham.
Oh no,
you can't get caught there. You gotta be ready to go for whatever you see.
Well, just to continue on this real quick, it's like the amount of matchup based stuff that the Dodgers can do, and Schilt keeping David Peralta and you having those back-to-back lefties in there, that was a big deal. In the bottom of the second inning, that was a big thing with Anthony Banda. Like that was humongous. Goes up here. You've got Bogarts and then a single from Peralta, and then you've got 2 on, 2 out, and then he gets Cronenworth to pop out. If you're going righty lefty in that spot there, it's a completely different conversation. So I think that the amount of matchup based things, it makes Schilt uncomfortable. Yes, he has a bench he might feel comfortable with, but that's an advantage from a sense. The Dodgers perspective, they probably feel great with the matchups that they currently have there. And again, it goes into this, having this bullpen game the day before an off day. You got, as a Dodger fan, you guys all got to be feeling good here. Let's go to Blake's comment real quick. I love this. Daniel coming as a bulk guy, so he wouldn't have to face me in the first inning. Thoughts on this one?
I could be the Ryan Yarborough of the staff. I'm definitely not afraid to face you though, Blake. Let's make that real clear. But Scott, I do think you just made a good point, and I do question, do the Padres kind of change up the order of their lineup? Because I do think the way it's constructed right now has set it up really easily for Dave to navigate a bullpen game. Who's going to face what part of the order. Like you have obviously the top of the order, but you have that pocket where you're going to go to your best righties when it's Tatis, Profar, Machado. And then from there, you're going to bring in the lefties for Merrill, Peralta, and Cronenworth. Like I think the way they have their lineup constructed makes it really easy for Dave to manage a bullpen game. So I will be curious to see if Mike Schilt decides to kind of change up the order. I know he's stuck with the same lineup every game, and for the most part it's worked. But I do think the way they have it sets up really well for the Dodgers bullpen.
Yeah.
All right, let's get here to Shelley, who said, "What can the Dodgers do to get to Darvish?" So thoughts on getting to Darvish early, like first inning. What are you going to do to get to him? Because let's face it, he was pretty good last time out against the Dodgers.
I mean, I think first of all, you like I was saying earlier, you got to stay in the zone. You can't be chasing. Like he's if with all the pitches he has and his ability to change speeds, change locations, like you have to keep him in the zone. You got to punish the mistakes, like Scott said. If he's missing in the zone, you got to take advantage of that. And I do think you got to get his pitch count up and let's get him out of there. Like I know the Padres have a really good bullpen, but the Dodgers have now, in the 5th game of the series, they've seen a lot of these guys, 2 or 3 times maybe. So ideally you get that pitch count up. Like you don't want him going 7 again, like he did in game 2. Like you'd like to get him out of there by the 5th inning. So I know you want to be aggressive, but also you want to make sure you're being aggressive in the zone.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I got to get going on the Lakers Nation podcast. Scott's going to take over the wheel here and finish up the show. Before I go though, I'm going to throw it out there. I'm predicting a 6-4 Dodgers win. Dodgers win 6-4 on Friday. You guys tell me what your prediction is, and then I'll hit the road.
I'm on the same page as you. I'll say like 5-3. I think it'll be a closer game. I think there will be some offense, but I don't know if we'll see an explosion. But yeah, thanks for coming on with us, Trevor. Obviously, always great talking with you, whether it's Lakers, Dodgers, whatever. You're a pro's pro, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy, we appreciate you being here, man. It's nice to be on, with a Lakers legend so far. A lot of love for you in the chat early on. I tuned in. I saw that right away, man. It's great to have you.
Well, I appreciate you guys letting me come on here and talking a little Dodgers. It was a good time. And again, you guys have a great rest of the show. And again, thank you guys. This was a blast. Maybe I'll make a little cameo appearance or something like that Friday night when we're all celebrating a Dodgers win.
Right
on, You're the good luck charm, so we're gonna need it.
That's it. All right, guys. I'll see you.
All right.
So we'll keep this rolling here. We got a lot more super chats, and I think we can stay on the topic of Yu Darvish and like how can the Dodgers get to him here? And I want to stick with the amount, like the results the Dodgers had against him, but Yu Darvish was just pounding the strike zone and putting the Dodgers in uncomfortable spots. He had 19 first pitch strikes. 82 pitches here over 7 innings. That's humming. Like that's from a sense of just efficiency wise. That was great for me. But I really think, Daniel, I know what you told me is that the Dodgers can essentially do what they were doing in baseball, playing the odds and playing the outcomes. Like how much do they have to change from that sense in their approach with Yu Darvish? Is it just simply game planning? Is it just looking at tendencies here? Like from what the outcomes that you saw, and how you can go through his inning lines, 10 pitches in the first inning, 18 in the second, where you had an opportunity, 10 in the third, 7 in the fourth, 14 in the fifth. So it's just like about this efficient game from Yu Darvish. Yeah. How can they, weather that storm or make him have to work here where it's not going to be so efficient?
Yeah, I mean, I think your hands are pretty tied when he's pounding, the zone the way you kind of just described. Like there's not a whole lot you could do there. Like I do think in a perfect world you are working counts, getting that pitch count up, getting him out of the game. But, he's not a guy that you want to be 0-2 against. So you do have to be aggressive as if he's pounding the zone the way he was in game 2. So, yeah, like you got to be ready to go. Like, obviously, like I was saying, you don't want to be, chasing outside the zone, but you do have to be aggressive. You want to jump on him early, kind of, bring those demons back for him, like get him kind of in his own head. That would be an ideal scenario.
Yeah. You look through these super chats for me. I'm not sure which ones we've gotten to here. Do we get through all these? I'm not sure.
Let's see.
Because I've been unstarring a couple of them here. Laura says, I don't know if we put this one, but she says, I'm all better, Scotty, no more. And yeah, Laura, you could be honest. I want to see you in chat. Yeah, you were on one last night. I felt the doom.
Yeah, I think so. That's where we're at as far as super chats, like the ones from.
I felt Laura. I felt the doom. So right on. Shout out to the 5,300 in here across all social media. We appreciate you guys. What a win, man! I mean, backs up against the wall. Dave Roberts has done great in those games here. A masterclass from working your bullpen. Those guys, really owning that. Announcing that early. That's a bullpen game. So from that sense, all credit to them. All credit to Dave, everything included. He's done terrific. This game, this series so far here, keeping it up to Friday. It's going to come in the early part of the game and how they manage that and how the game planning will go hand. He'll be integral in that process and planning that out here. Do you keep the same lineup from today, buddy? Because I know you say you wanted, Chris Taylor stay in there, how much on that. And if that changes, that's okay. If it changes, it is what it is. It's one, we're talking the 9 spot in the order here. But as far as everything else, if Freddie doesn't give it a go, we're talking about, Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez, Max Muncy, Will Smith, Tommy Edman, Gavin Lux, Kike Hernandez. And then in that 9 spot, depending on where they slot, if it's Kike there, if it's Chris Taylor or Andy Pajes, you're kind of looking for the same exact type of lineup, correct? If Freddie Freeman can't give it a go.
Yeah, I would say the only thing I would consider is maybe moving, Kike up a few spots. Like I think, you like his at bats in the postseason. But other than that, this would have been a really different conversation if we had it before tonight's game, because we could have, talked about moving guys like Max Muncy, Will Smith, like let's move those guys down a little bit maybe. But I do think, they got it going tonight, so you have more confidence in them. So overall, I think you do stay with pretty much the same lineup. And I agree with that comment you just put up. Like, Kike's got to be in that lineup. I don't care if Miguel Rojas comes in and says he's feeling the best he's felt all season. Like, I don't think you could, really trust that at this point. So Kike's got to be in that lineup, and we'll see about Freddie. But if Freddie's unable to go, like, Chris Taylor or Pages, like neither of them are great options. So I'm not, jumping on the table for Chris Taylor. I know he's, like I said, that's who I would go with, but either one, I could see the argument for either.
Sure. You've got to, weigh the value of, those veteran presence. Love Blake loves that saying. You got to weigh, if that's, that's something that they want to go with there. In terms of, the velocity, I would love, Kike being in there is terrific, bat to ball, with the amount of whiff that Darvish can get. I would honestly say I want Andy Pages in there. The name I will bring up, and I don't know how many people want me to bring it up, but Miguel Rojas, if he's at all able to go, is that somebody you even think about putting in there? Or this is someone you just say, your work is done in this series. These guys right now, we're feeling good about them defensively. Chad, I see you already. No, I got my first no. Defensively, as far as health, I would stick with what they've got right now, and I wouldn't push the buttons on him.
Yeah, to me, that's an easy one for me. Like, that's an easy no. And part of it is like, if he comes in and says he's feeling great, like I don't know how much you could trust that. Like, he's a competitor. He wants to be in there, and he's gonna do whatever he can to be in there, and he's gonna say he feels great. But to me, as a training staff, like as a manager, you can't always just trust your players when it comes to that stuff, as we've seen in this series already. So to me, like the Rojas we saw like the other night, like I don't see how 2 days, like how much better he could realistically be feeling. Like I do think if they advance to the NLCS and he's feeling better, obviously he's back in play then. But for me, in a winner take all game, like I'm just not going there.
Yeah, it's just I see, and the thing in my mind, the first thing is like, where are you playing him? First off, like I don't want him playing shortstop at all. Like I just can't. Tommy Edman, just like we talked about before he was brought in, it's like this guy's going to play a premier glove at shortstop. He's dynamic. He's able to go out to short left field, short center field, snag everything. Like he is a very savvy defender. He's dynamic there. It's just stuff you. I will never, I think for like 20 years later down the line, that's still that screenshot of him taking it right before he takes that ball himself on the double play will replay in my mind for a long time. And I think that was him. He wanted to make a play. He's been verbal about that. He tried to make a play, and seeing how limited he is in a do or die game, I cannot in good faith, and from where we're at, analysis wise, I can't say yes, because he's been good on the season, because he's been good to the team, because he's had those moments, because he's been good in runners in scoring position down the stretch. Even if with all that included, knowing that he is not healthy at all, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, we saw, like you said, like that play, we're going to get PTSD from that one for a while. And that was more of like a brain fart from him. Like, I don't think that necessarily had to do with the injury, but I just think, give me the healthy body in a winner take all game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's just kind of what it comes down to. Like Edman has been, more than solid enough at shortstop, and whether it's Kike in center or Pages or Taylor or whatever, like at least they're healthy, and you're not necessarily worried about them, on both sides of the ball, I guess, being compromised.
Honestly, I would put at Tommy Edman at the 9. I just would do that. He's shown a willingness to lay one down. I would put him at the 9 there, just for that versatility wise, and getting someone right before Shohei Ohtani comes up to the dish in a plus matchup from the right side, left side, however it is. If they go to a bullpen spot, I would like him in right there. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Tommy Edman in the 9 tomorrow, and Andy Pages a little bit higher up. I just have a feeling they're going with Pages. I just really do. We see a super chat right in here. Jacob, Thanks for this one, man. Thanks for the $10. We appreciate you being here as always. Yoshi Masterclass incoming. Please God, no Rojas. I think a lot of people, I just implore people to not be too. Yes, it's a lot of bad stuff has come out. What we saw with Miguel Rojas there. It's easy to forget about what he's done throughout the regular season, how much he's been grinding out there. It's unfortunate that, that brain fart that happened cost them, a big opportunity to stay in that ball game there. He had to come out from injury. But with Yoshinobu, it's going to be everything in that first inning. Everything in that first frame, first 2 frames. Is he able to weather that storm, find his groove there, and go from there? I don't think we need to add anything else onto it. Grayson tosses in here. Call me crazy, but should rookie Ben Kasparius pitch a bulk of the innings in a game 5? Benny Caps, you know me with Benny Caps. That's my guy. Padres have never seen him. Grayson, I don't know about you, but those rookies starting those doing those bulk things. We saw how Bobby Miller was. I know it's completely different because he has, Kasparius has been, very solid. He flashes some incredible potentials, incredible stuff here. But I mean, I think it would be where have to be where the game is at. Like if it's in a very tight game, I think you're comfortable just mixing and matching with your standard bullpen there. But I think the bulk guys, it's either going to be Yoshinobu or it's going to be Jack Flaherty.
Yeah. No offense, Grayson, but yeah, this is absolutely crazy. Like one game, season on the line, and Ben Kasparius is getting the bulk of the innings when
I'd be sitting there like.
I think me and Scott, we both like Ben Kasparius, and maybe he'll factor into pitching plans at some point this postseason if they advance. But when you're talking about a winner take all game, yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, Grayson, I'm gonna say that an opener would be the best route there. And then if you feel like Yamamoto, like if he says it's green light to come out of the bullpen and go straight from that into his normal process and pick that up and start from there. If that's what it is, if the boogeyman is getting through that first inning, that first, those first say 3-4 guys in the order who are very aggressive, the best hitters in a lineup, if that's been the issue and you're able to, get past it with an opener, do it. Go with that route. Like Dave, do the thing. Friedman, do the thing, guys. Like we know, what's good. All right. I think we can open this up to questions. Chat, if you guys toss any super chats and we miss them, because some of them went out of order here, just let me know and I'll pull them up real fast. If you remember, I've still got them all started up here, but we're going to open this up to some questions. We'll do this right now. Just all caps question, and then put that right afterwards. We appreciate you being here. Take a second for us. And please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. We're going to have another, live show coming on Friday. We're going to do this. We're going to see how much we've got, off day tomorrow. I believe Jeff's going to have one tomorrow night. We'll keep that pending, but stay tuned. We're going to preview every single thing here. But as always, everybody tuning in. This is one of the biggest, live shows I've been a part of here. 5,500, big time win, backs up against the wall. Any thoughts? Daniel, you're hyped, man. Like this is a big day for us.
Look, the alternative would have been, we would have been writing the Dodgers obituary on this show tonight, and everyone in the chat would have been angry. We would have been angry. So, yeah, this definitely beats that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, here we go. Let's see. Keep the good vibes rolling. I like that. Ederico, I'm going to toss this one up here first. Says, how many innings, whether Yamamoto or Flaherty, would you let them pitch in game 5? Take this one, buddy.
To me, it's not inning to inning, it's batter to batter. Like the leash is very short, and obviously, we got to see the context of the game. Like if the Dodgers go out and put up a 5 spot early, like the leash gets a little longer there, but you can't afford to be in a 3-4 run hole with all of the Padres high leverage guys and you Darvish, like, you're not going to come back from that. So the leash has to be very short. Ideally, obviously you'd love to get 4 or 5 out of whoever, whatever starter goes, but the bullpen will be ready. Like if you have to do it in the 2nd inning, that's fine. If you have to do it in the 3rd inning, that's fine. If you have to do it in the 1st inning, that is fine. Like, you can't afford to be in a big hole here. So the leash will be short.
I like this one here. This is an interesting thing. Chris tosses up. Good to see you again, man. He says, do you agree with using Blake Trinan today? Not sure if it's good to give Padre more looks at him for game 5. Thoughts on this? We talk about this a lot, getting these looks at these relievers, your high leverage guys. It's your biggest arms, your most valuable, weapons out of that bullpen. How much is there to that? Did you like that? Do you think in this part of the game, it just didn't really matter much?
I personally didn't think it was the right move. Like, I like, get those, their top of the order guys getting a look at Treinen there, just to me is not ideal. Like in an 8-run game, like I get that he hasn't pitched since game 1, and you don't want to give him too much rest, but I would rather have that than Manny Machado and Tatis getting looks at him. So to me, like I was tweeting this at the time, like I would have had Knack in there. But I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think, like, I'm not saying Blake Treinen's going to get rocked just because he pitched tonight and they saw him. Like if Blake Treinen goes out there and executes his pitches, there's not a team in the world that could hit that guy like that, So I think he'll be okay as long as he executes. But to me, I would have went with Knack there. I would have saved Treinen. But yeah, I don't know. Do you feel the same, or are you kind of on the other side?
No, I'm right there. Yeah, I'm right there. At that point of the game, do you have to use it? Like, did they just want to get him some work? Like, that's a valuable thing too. Like, I mean, you've got to you cannot replicate anything like playoff atmosphere inside sessions. It just does not work out. If Blake Treinen said, I want to get some work tonight, if it's just was in the script, if they felt it was at any point it was going to be too much, or that inning went south and it was more stressful innings matter. So as far as from that sense, I think sure, if it stays right in there, I don't have a problem with it. If it was in the game plan, if he just said he wanted to do it, he goes in there, allows a couple knocks, gets Manny Machado to strike out again. But again, throwing a lot of pitches. It's stuff. So if it's just what the game plan said, Blake Treinen said he was good to go, I understand from a sense that you don't want to get him a lot of looks, because we talk about it a lot. So I'd be ridiculous to say it doesn't matter for the Dodgers if it matters against the Padres. So I have a problem if it just, they said for a competitive stance, that was the deal. But if it was just to get him some work, then it's fine. Then it's totally fine. All right. This is Roostery says, will Scott be hosting a Lakers Nation postgame soon? I mean,
I could do it. On. We got to.
We could do it, but the only thing I would talk about is like the glory days in way back in the 2000s. That's all I could do now. Like I've been off the grid with Lakers stuff for a bit. I'm a fan, but I'm one of those. I'm a big time casual. Like you're not going to catch me talking about like I couldn't tell you anything about that's going on with them right now. Absolutely anything. I maybe have to get schooled up for a bit. We'll do a triple boxer and I'll just sit on the side and just take notes and just listen.
Once the Dodgers season ends, we'll give you the Lakers lowdown. But the focus right now is on the boys in blue. That's for sure.
Oh my God. Kenny says Scotty only hosts winners, not losers. Jeez, man. Golly. Is this Matt? I don't know. It says Scott only want to talk about Bronny. What's wrong with Bronny, man? Like, what do you guys have against Bronny? This is historic. Like, this is a sports moment that everybody should care about. Like, that's dope. That's awesome. Eric, let's see. This is a good one. How can they effectively pitch around Tatis? What have you seen like in those at-bats? Because whether people like it or not, Fernando Tatis is having one of the most incredible starts to, a career in terms of postseason production here.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's locked in. Like, you saw, like, honestly, Kopech threw that ball that wasn't anywhere near his head, but it was up and in a little bit. And, you get him on the ground. And I was like, that was great to me. Like, maybe it'll make him a little more uncomfortable. Like, obviously you don't want to hit the guy, but you do want to move his feet a little bit, make him a little uncomfortable. The guy's been locked in, but then right after that, he goes to right center for a ground rule double. So I was like, oh, so much for that. Like, never mind. So the guy is locked in, but I do think the plan is you got to execute pitches away. He's shown that anything on the inner half, he's hitting 450, in the left field bleachers. Like, you got to execute pitches on the corners away, and then from there you get him to chase even further out. Like, he's shown that he is willing to chase, but you can't just miss in the middle of the plate. You can't miss middle in. If you are gonna try to throw him in, which is back to Jack Flaherty at bat when he hit him, Jack said the plan was I'm missing in here. I'm not missing in the middle of the plate. Like, if you're gonna pitch him in, you got to miss in. Like, you don't want to hit him, but if you do, so be it. Like, you're not trying to hit the guy, but you definitely don't want to miss middle in just because he's going to park that in the bleachers every single time.
Yeah, exactly that. It's what I see in a lot of Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado is their ability to, it's same thing like Mookie Betts. You get, those hangers, outer half, if it sits there, like they could do damage, even if it's away. If you even leave it a little bit in the zone, sweepers away, sliders away, stuff that catches too much plate, they've got enough pull that they can put that in the seats. Like they can turn on that and put it to left field here. But what you saw from Tatis, just like you said, in that third inning, velocity here from Kopech. We haven't even got to talk about Dave just going straight to Kopech there in the third inning, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
Worked out. But as far as he missed down in the zone there. He had a couple where it was like he went, third pitch of the AB, he goes, 100 miles an hour down, he goes right back to it. And then, 2 pitches later, Tatis bangs it. He goes 101 to right center for a ground rule double. Just an unbelievable swing. Like Tatis, like he's for whatever people think about him and how he, his emotions and how he is on the field, like he's an all-world talent and he is a problem. You have to respect it. And there's a reason why pitchers pitch him so carefully. There is an unbelievable game plan to it because he can do damage early. And then from there, it's like, how do we let this not happen again? All right. John, oh man, you didn't have to, if you super chatted this twice, I'm not sure, but you didn't have to do that, brother. Bullpen with 12 straight scoreless innings. Let it ride. I mean, it's been a lot of the confidence from what I had with the Dodgers bullpen. And I liked the bullpen game idea. Like I didn't have a problem with them not going with Landon Knack and just letting it ride from that sense. I've loved the matchup based stuff that Dave Roberts and the bullpen have had taken upon themselves to really let it eat, man.
Yeah, no, obviously, those anytime you're shutting out an offense like the Padres, it's great. The bullpen's been there all year. Like they've had their struggles at times, but for the most part, they've had, between 4 and 6 guys that you could count on in any situation, pretty much all year. And Kopech has honestly, he's looked really erratic in this series. Like we haven't seen that, dominant outing from him that we saw so many times down the stretch. So I do think, the best is yet to come from him. I also, got a little chuckle of going to him in the third inning, but I also commend Dave Roberts for it because at that point, you want to shorten the game and don't give them any sort of momentum or any sort of belief that they could come back. So I liked it.
Yeah, the tough part with Michael Kopech and a lot of guys, like if he misses like in the zone, he's supplying a lot of that power. Yeah. So, that's the thing here. So he's supplying the power to the plate. Guys you have to put it in a spot where, one, if you catch up to it, it's going to do damage for itself. So you've got to put it in a place where, it's not like where he left it to Fernando Tatis, down in zone where you just get that bat hit out there with enough and it's going to do damage itself here. All right, we're going to fire through these super chats. I would say a couple more questions and then we're going to hit it out here. Arcade Light Grid. We talked about this a little bit earlier. How do the Dodgers get hits off of Darvish? Daniel, I think, you kept me in check on this. You kind of, cold bucket of water. Let me know that, yes, he was efficient, but there were a lot of balls in play. If stuff goes differently, we're talking a completely different conversation here. Kind of just explain this one more time. What's the kind of the game plan here against Darvish, who can flash 7 different pitches?
Yeah, I will say to Arcade, like we had a longer conversation about this maybe 10, 15 minutes ago or so. So you can go rewind and back, get all that after the show. But yeah, I do think, first of all, you got to see how he's commanding the zone. Like Scott mentioned, if he's, pounding the zone, first pitch strikes to every batter, you don't want to get to 0-2 against that guy. So you do have to be aggressive. You got to be ready on the first or second pitch. Like he's going to come with early spin. Like you got to either be sitting on it or taking it. Like you can't be guessing with him. You got to go up there with an approach, with a plan, whatever that may be. Like for different hitters, it's going to be different things, but you got to go up there with a plan and stick to it. And, if he is not, like if his command isn't what it was in game 2, in that scenario, then I do think you want to work counts. You want to get that pitch count up. So it's a lot of, touch and feel, like, let's see how he looks. But I do think you got to be aggressive in the zone. Like you can't be chasing, if he's going to make you chase, then take your walks, build that pitch count up and just get it to, pass the baton to the next guy, as they say. Yeah.
Like, we'll pull it up one more time, like 19 first pitch strikes. That's pounding. That's getting ahead. That's when you're already not on your heels, but you're 0-1 immediately, facing it's 7 innings here. We're talking 19 of those guys faced first pitch strikes, immediate 0-1. You step in the box, 0-1. You've got to be able to go ahead, be aggressive. He's going to do that. But again, he might flip that script. They might, now knowing that he's going to pound the zone here, if he decides to, go a lot of outside the zone, try to make these guys expand. I would say for the Dodgers, just try to keep putting the ball in play, avoid the whiff. Again, if Chris Taylor's in there, he better not be striking out like that. But again, I love the approach that they've had. To your credit, 20 balls in play against that. That's a great amount. That's a lot. Jack Flaherty only allowed 19. It just came with different results. So there's a difference. So I would say for the Dodgers, Arcade Light, just stick to what they were doing with it and then hope that game plan works out. Outcomes go differently here. Roman says this, are the baseball gods on the Dodgers side? Are we ready? We can't say that yet. I don't think we can say that yet. For today, they were.
Yeah. Well,
you won't know even that till it's all over with.
For some of today, they weren't. Like, we saw a ball hit off an umpire that should have been down the line and scored a run, and they didn't get a run there. But yeah, I mean, I definitely feel the tide starting to turn a little bit. Like, you see Bogarts make that error. Like, that's not something that's been happening, in this series. You see Machado hit what looks like a no doubt homer to center field that just kind of dies at the warning track. He's staring it down, thinking he got it, and he didn't. So it does feel like the tide's starting to turn, but at the end of the day, it's one game, so anything could happen. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm really interested. I'm going to be, doing a deep dive on how Yu Darvish and stuff like that and how we attack different guys. Like Ohtani, it was, ended him with that breaking ball, that backdoor, slider there. And it's just interesting stuff here, how they're going to attack. Yeah. Big one here. Adam, $20 super chat. Thank you for joining, man. We appreciate this one a bunch. Thank you for, supporting Dodger Blue. He says, Roberts need to manage aggressively like he did today. We totally agree. Bullpen game again. No Chris Taylor. I'm sorry. He has been overmatched all year. Yes, he's had some, very low valleys here. And he had a little bit of an upswing, but you can see him regress back to the mean of where he was at. We need every advantage we can get on Friday. Yeah, it's going to be being aggressive, but allowing these guys to play. It's not going to, I don't think Dave Roberts is going to take the at-bat out of the hands of a guy he feels, in the matchup that he feels is a solid one. I think Dave Roberts is going to let some of these guys play from the offensive standpoint. From the pitching, I think he's going to be very aggressive from that. And to what Daniel and I both agree on is that either they go with an opener and go from that sense, or it's that the second Yamamoto steps on a mound, somebody's getting hot in the bullpen, ready to go immediately. And I don't care if Yamamoto throws 8 pitches. If those 8 pitches are ugly and it doesn't look good, you've got to already start thinking about who's the next guy in there. And then you get your bulk guys in right behind them.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Love this comment here. Love the $20 super chat, of course. So we appreciate that as always. But yeah, I mean, it's a do or die game. You got to be aggressive, but like you said, at the end of the day, you got to let the boys play. Like, just go out there and have fun. Like, you don't want to be pressing, like just baseball. Like, it's not the end of the world, no matter what happens. I know we treat it like it is. Like, we all want to see the Dodgers win. Of course, we're going to be upset if they lose. We're going to be elated if they win. But at the end of the day, like, just go out and have fun and just live in the moment.
I would really encourage them. And I see people bringing up the fact, like with the fans and the stuff like that. What I would love is to let the play, I don't want to get to a point where Manny Machado, Jerkson, Profar, Fernando Tatis can get, play that game that they like to play.
Yeah.
Dancing out there, taunting fans, stuff like that. Dodger fans, let's hope that the Dodgers can quiet them early on and they can let that play, quiet them themselves. Go from that sense. We don't need any of those extracurriculars. I want this focus to be on the game. Let's keep it there. Let's let Dave Roberts continue to cook with how he has been with the bullpen and go from there. I mean, I don't think there's anything else to say about it, Daniel.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. We've been talking for a while here. So yeah, I'm with you.
Perfect. All righty. Chat, we appreciate you guys, everybody. Shout out to Trevor for, starting this show off. Thanks for sticking around, Daniel. Always a pleasure, man.
Yes,
guys, Dodgers even this stuff up. We got game 5 on Friday. Big stuff. Day off tomorrow. Use it. Get a breather. Dodgers bullpen's going to need it. All hands on deck on Friday. We'll see if this season will continue. As always, guys, do us a favor here. Like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Stay tuned for us. We've got a lot of more content cooking. We'll see you tomorrow. And as always, guys, go Dodgers.